Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, and welcome to this month's edition of Next Month's News Now. I'm your Futurecaster, Angela LaRue. Next month's News Now is derived by mathematical probability based on current moment energies in the collective energies of nations, states, and groups of individuals. The probability can be changed by these groups and even by individual actions of people within the collective. Hello and welcome to next month's News Now for December 2022. Today is November 29th. So this prediction comes just a few days before December is upon us. Before we begin with the predictions for December, I would like to do a short recap of important points from the newscast and the predictions for November. The big news in November from the forecast was a nuclear incident involving a fire. This, in fact, happened just a week or a week and a half after our newscast. A missile hit a nuclear plant in Ukraine, and they had only 5 days to get electricity up and running before that turned into a much larger event than it was. Fortunately, they did. And so the scale of that event came down quite a bit. A cave near a village is discovered with a large deposit of guano, which will help with fertilizer issues come this spring. This is very good news. As we know, last year fertilizer was a big issue. It hasn't shown to resolve itself yet. So it could be this guano find is a good offset and helps us this spring. Let's look forward to that. Gun shop advocates point out a surprising history of a gun shop, and they self-organized to host an event to commemorate the special history of the shop. Should be interesting to find out what that's all about. A mother tackles the issue of plastic and comes up with a greener solution, reducing the amount of plastic waste. I love that it's a mother that does it. I love that it's a common, ordinary citizen that does it. It's just a mom with a passion and a mission in her heart comes up with a solution for a problem that this whole planet has. We are inundated with plastic everywhere. I'm looking forward to what this mother discovers. A governor races to a meeting in which he's held accountable for something. The results of this meeting and whatever the outcomes of it are result in something better for the planet. That's good. I hope there's more of this. These elected officials should be, in fact, held accountable for what happens in their states, their counties, or this country. So let's see who gets in trouble in the month of December. China features in the news once again. It's been in the news a lot lately. A number of people's lives in China are affected by an event, and China blames wastewater for the event. And ultimately, the architect who designs the plant becomes in danger. It's really interesting. Something that just happened a few days ago was an apartment building which had been chained shut by authorities to keep the people inside due to the COVID-0 policy caught on fire and burned down, and they were not able to get the chain doors open. We have another event which China's going to blame on wastewater and go after the architect who built the plant. Let's watch for that. Apparently in America, food issues, possibly contamination, prompts an escalation of inquiry and investigation, putting pressure on heads of state. Good. There's been a number of large contamination issues by companies. Beyond Burger comes to mind. Multiple contamination issues from bad cleanliness and bad food practices. That company may even go out of business. We need accountability. A fire wreaks havoc in a facility which is doing research on development of augments, clones, and transitional beings, and other futuristic high-tech things. This is interesting. It's not something that's in the mainstream news. It is in tech magazines. There are places certainly to find the research and developments that's happening in these quarters. And apparently one of these is going to have a fire. So let's see if that shows up in the mainstream news. In an interesting twist, big oil files multi-pronged lawsuits against various alternative energies, hoping to slow down competitive energy developments. Did I say that was a surprise? That's not a surprise, is it? We have a news forecast about glaciers in Antarctica. They are endangered by continued population settlement and increasing scientific and military presence and traffic in Antarctica. Antarctica does not make the news very often. Showing up in this news report is settlement that's affecting them. Let's keep an eye on that as well. And our last prediction for the month of December that's going to be in the headlines is quite interesting. This has to do with city planning. Some cities begin to seek CEOs to help them accelerate to become more self-organizing and self-sustaining. There's also an element here of smart city technology. This is infrastructure, surveillance, and tracking, and other types of things to track everything that happens in a city. Interestingly enough, there's not that many naturally born CEOs who can track everything that's happening in every quarter of a large, sprawling technology company, for example. Good CEOs are hard to come by, and they cost a lot. But they can track a lot of things. And it's interesting that some cities are going to start looking not towards city management, city planning teams, but city CEOs. And those are the headlines for December 2022. There will, of course, be lots of other news, but these are the ones that showed up. Our closing thought comes from the Tao Te Ching. The Tao Te Ching was written in 400 BC, which was over 2,422 years ago, written by Lao Tzu. And it was discovered in the 1920s and in the 1930s as part of thousands of scrolls in the Mogao caves near Donghuang in China. This is translated and paraphrased from the ancient writings. Very appropriate. Good governance comes from many people who live by their hearts and not by some important person's rule and direction based on that person's limited knowledge. The universe can take care of itself. It doesn't need important people. People go crazy arguing about the universe, though it has taken care of itself for a very long time. Life is free. The more you breathe, the more breath is left to breathe. The universe is deathless. A human is like this also. They take care of themselves. There is an inherent undertone and current of health and integrity, which takes care of a person. A person seeks a natural level with their universe. Unquote. In this day when so many people want to do our thinking for us, don't forget, you've had a guidance system and an alignment to the universe which has existed for thousands and thousands of years. This was written about well over 2,000 years ago. And it hasn't changed today. Trust you, believe in you, connect to that divine spark, that creative, which exists in you. Let it guide you. Let it be your primary guide. Merry Christmas and happy holidays.